The morning sun cast long shadows across the remote training facility nestled in the mountains of Colorado, where the sound of precision rifle fire echoed through the thin air like a metronome keeping time with destiny. Most people who heard those deliberate, measured shots assumed it was just another day of routine marksmanship training. They had no idea they were witnessing something that would redefine what excellence looked like in the world of military precision shooting. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. Sarah Chen had arrived at the facility 3 hours before anyone else, as was her custom. The gravel crunched softly beneath her boots as she made her way through the morning mist toward the armory building, a weathered structure that had seen decades of warriors come and go. Her breath formed small clouds in the crisp mountain air, dissipating quickly in the dry atmosphere that made this location perfect for long-range shooting. The elevation here sat at just over 8,000 feet, where the thin air and stable atmospheric conditions created an environment that separated the truly skilled from the merely competent. She carried herself with the quiet confidence of someone who had spent years perfecting a craft that demanded absolute precision. Her movements were economical, purposeful, each step calculated to waste no energy. The facility around her was slowly coming to life, but for now, it belonged to her and the silence that she had learned to embrace as both companion and teacher. The early morning hours were when she did her best work, when the world was still and her mind could achieve the clarity that made impossible shots seem routine. The armory door opened with a soft metallic click, and Sarah stepped inside to begin her ritual. The interior smelled of gun oil, metal polish, and the faint residue of countless rounds fired in pursuit of perfection. Rows of rifles lined the walls, each one meticulously maintained and ready for use. But Sarah's attention went immediately to her personal case, a custom aluminum container that held the tools of her trade. She opened it with the reverence of a surgeon preparing for a delicate operation. Inside lay her rifle, a precision instrument that had been built specifically for her hands, her eye, her breathing pattern. Every component had been selected and adjusted to match her unique shooting style. The stock had been custom fitted to her shoulder and cheek, the trigger adjusted to break at exactly 3 pounds of pressure, the scope mounted and zeroed to account for her dominant eye's particular characteristics. This rifle was an extension of herself, as familiar as her own heartbeat. She lifted the weapon from its foam-lined case with practiced care, her fingers automatically finding their positions on the stock in action. The rifle felt alive in her hands, balanced and ready. She had fired thousands of rounds through this barrel, each shot teaching her something new about wind, elevation, temperature, and the countless variables that could make the difference between success and failure when precision mattered most. The ritual of preparation began with a thorough inspection. Sarah's eyes moved over every surface of the rifle, checking for any sign of damage, wear, or contamination that might affect its performance. She opened the bolt and peered down the barrel, confirming that it was clean and free of obstructions. The scope received the same careful attention, its lenses inspected for scratches or foreign matter that could distort her view of distant targets. Satisfied with her inspection, she began the process of loading her equipment onto a cart for transport to the range. Ammunition boxes were stacked with military precision, each one labeled with specific load data that she had developed through months of testing. These weren't standard military rounds, but carefully crafted cartridges where every grain of powder had been weighed, every bullet seated to exactly the same depth, every primer selected for consistency. In her world, attention to these details wasn't obsessive behavior. It was the difference between mission success and catastrophic failure. The range stretched out before her like a canvas, waiting for an artist's touch. At various distances, targets had been positioned at intervals from 200 to 1,500 yards. The facility's staff had set up a variety of scenarios, from standard bullseye targets to realistic silhouettes that simulated actual combat conditions. But Sarah knew that today would be different from the routine training sessions she had grown accustomed to. Word had spread through the military community about an upcoming evaluation that would determine selections for an elite joint operations unit. The details were classified, but everyone understood that only the absolute best would be chosen. Sarah had been quietly recommended for consideration, though she suspected that some viewed her inclusion as little more than a token gesture toward diversity and inclusion. She had faced such assumptions throughout her career, and had learned to let her performance speak louder than any words ever could. As she set up her shooting position, Sarah's mind focused on the fundamentals that had been drilled into her through years of training. Body position, breathing control, sight alignment, trigger squeeze, follow-through. Each element had to be perfect, and the margin for error decreased dramatically as distances increased. She had developed her own pre-shot routine, a series of mental and physical preparations that helped her achieve the consistent state of mind necessary for precision shooting. The first target she engaged was positioned at 400 yards, well within the range where most competent shooters could achieve good results. Sarah settled into her prone position, adjusting her body until everything felt perfectly aligned. The rifle's bipod provided a stable platform, but true stability came from the shooter's ability to become one with the weapon and the ground beneath them. She controlled her breathing, allowing her heart rate to slow and her body to relax into the position. Through the scope, the target appeared crisp and clear. Sarah had spent considerable time learning to read atmospheric conditions, understanding how temperature, humidity, altitude, and wind would affect her bullet's flight path. The early morning air was relatively still, with only occasional gentle breezes that she could account for in her holdover calculations. She made a minute adjustment to her point of aim, compensating for the slight crosswind she detected by watching the grass movements in her peripheral vision. The shot broke cleanly, the rifle recoiling straight back into her shoulder as the bullet began its journey downrange. Through the scope, she watched the target and confirmed the hit before cycling the bolt to chamber another round. The process was repeated 4 more times, each shot carefully planned and executed with the same attention to detail as the first. When she was finished, she could see through her spotting scope that all 5 rounds had landed within a group that could be covered by a quarter. This level of precision wasn't accidental or lucky. It was the result of countless hours of practice, study, and dedication to a craft that demanded nothing less than perfection. Sarah had learned early in her career that being good wasn't enough when lives depended on your ability to place a bullet exactly where it needed to go. She had pushed herself beyond the standards expected of her, driven by an internal motivation that few people understood. The sound of vehicles approaching broke the morning quiet, signaling the arrival of other personnel for the day's activities. Sarah continued her practice routine, working through targets at progressively longer ranges. Each distance presented new challenges, requiring adjustments for bullet drop, wind drift, and the effects of atmospheric density at altitude. She had memorized the ballistic data for her specific rifle and ammunition combination, but she also understood that real-world conditions rarely matched the theoretical calculations perfectly. At 800 yards, the target appeared much smaller through the scope, and the effects of environmental factors became more pronounced. Sarah took extra time to read the wind conditions, watching for signs of changing air currents that could push her bullet off course. She noticed subtle changes in the grass movement at different distances, indicating wind shifts that would require careful compensation. Her calculations had to account not just for the wind at her position, but for the varying conditions the bullet would encounter during its flight. The mathematics of long-range shooting fascinated Sarah, though she understood that success required more than just numerical calculations. Experience taught shooters to feel the conditions, to develop an intuitive understanding of how their rifle and ammunition would perform under different circumstances. She had developed this intuition through thousands of rounds fired in various conditions, each shot adding to her database of knowledge about how external factors affected bullet performance. As she engaged targets at increasingly challenging distances, Sarah was aware that she wasn't alone on the range. Other shooters had arrived and begun their own practice sessions, though most were working at shorter ranges with less demanding precision requirements. She could hear the occasional comment or observation from nearby positions, and she sensed that some were watching her performance with interest. In the military shooting community, reputations were built on demonstrated ability, and word spread quickly about shooters who consistently performed at exceptional levels. The 1,200-yard target represented a significant challenge, requiring Sarah to account for substantial bullet drop and wind drift, while maintaining the precise sight alignment necessary for accurate shooting. At this distance, even minor errors in technique or judgment could result in complete misses. She took her time preparing for each shot, carefully analyzing conditions and making the necessary adjustments to her point of aim. Her breathing became even more controlled at this distance, each shot timed to coincide with the natural respiratory pause that provided the steadiest platform for precise trigger control. The trigger break had to be perfect, with no disturbance to the rifle's alignment at the moment the firing pin struck the primer. Sarah had practiced dry firing thousands of times to develop the muscle memory necessary for consistent trigger control under pressure. The bullet's flight time to the 1,200-yard target was noticeable, requiring Sarah to maintain her sight picture and follow through until the bullet reached its destination. She watched through the scope as her shots impacted the target, each one landing within the vital zone despite the challenging distance and conditions. The consistency of her performance was remarkable, demonstrating the level of skill that separated elite shooters from the merely competent. By the time Sarah had worked through her complete range of practice distances, the facility had become much busier. Various military units were conducting training exercises, and the sound of different weapon systems echoed across the mountain valley. She was preparing to pack up her equipment when she noticed a group of individuals approaching her position. Something about their bearing and the way they moved suggested that this wasn't a casual visit. The group consisted of 4 men, all carrying themselves with the unmistakable confidence of elite military operators. Their equipment and uniforms indicated special operations backgrounds, though specific unit identifications weren't immediately apparent. The man leading the group was tall and lean, with the weathered face of someone who had spent years in challenging environments. His eyes showed the sharp intelligence and situational awareness that marked him as a leader accustomed to making life-and-death decisions. As they approached, Sarah maintained her focus on securing her equipment, though she was acutely aware of their presence. She had learned that in military environments, it was often better to let others make the first move rather than appear overly eager or presumptuous. Her reputation would speak for itself, and if these individuals were interested in her capabilities, they would make their intentions known. The leader of the group stopped a respectful distance away and waited for Sarah to acknowledge their presence. When she looked up from her rifle case, he stepped forward with a slight nod of greeting. His voice was calm and professional when he spoke, carrying the authority of someone accustomed to command. Commander Jake Morrison had been observing Sarah's shooting session from a distance, using high-powered optics to evaluate her technique and results. What he had witnessed was exceptional by any standard, but he needed to see more before making any decisions about her potential role in upcoming operations. The mission his team was preparing for would require shooting skills that went far beyond normal military standards, and failure wasn't an option when American lives hung in the balance. Morrison's background was in naval special warfare, where he had spent over 15 years conducting classified operations in some of the world's most dangerous locations. He had worked with the best shooters in the special operations community and had developed an eye for identifying exceptional talent. What he had observed of Sarah's performance suggested capabilities that could prove invaluable for his team's upcoming mission. The conversation began with professional courtesy, Morrison introducing himself and his team members without revealing specific unit affiliations or operational details. Sarah responded with similar discretion, understanding that in the special operations world, information was shared on a need-to-know basis. Both individuals recognized in each other the marks of serious professionals who had earned their positions through demonstrated competence rather than political connections or social engineering. Morrison's evaluation of Sarah wasn't based solely on her shooting accuracy, impressive though it was. He was looking for indicators of mental toughness, adaptability, and the ability to perform under extreme pressure. The upcoming mission would place enormous stress on all team members, and technical skills alone wouldn't be sufficient for success. He needed to understand whether Sarah possessed the complete package of attributes necessary for special operations work. The discussion that followed was carefully structured to reveal information about Sarah's background, training, and experience without compromising operational security. Morrison learned that she had distinguished herself in various military schools and assignments, consistently ranking at the top of her classes and earning recognition from instructors who had worked with thousands of soldiers. Her record showed not just technical proficiency, but leadership ability and the capacity to adapt to changing circumstances. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now, back to the story. Sarah, for her part, was carefully evaluating Morrison and his team. She recognized the signs of elite operators and understood that this conversation was likely leading toward an opportunity that could define the next phase of her career. The questions being asked suggested interest in capabilities that went far beyond standard military requirements, and she sensed that something significant was being considered. The formal evaluation process began with Morrison asking Sarah to demonstrate her abilities with targets at various ranges and under different conditions. He wanted to see how she performed when challenged beyond her normal practice routine, and whether she could adapt to equipment and scenarios different from what she was accustomed to. This wasn't just about shooting accuracy, but about problem-solving ability and mental resilience when faced with unfamiliar challenges. Sarah accepted the evaluation request with quiet confidence, understanding that her performance would be scrutinized in ways that went far beyond simple target engagement. She began by demonstrating her ability to engage multiple targets in sequence, transitioning between different ranges and target types while maintaining the precision that had become her trademark. Each shot was executed with the same careful attention to fundamentals that had made her reputation. Morrison observed not just the results, but the process. He watched how Sarah prepared for each shot, how she analyzed conditions, and how she adapted her technique to meet different challenges. Her approach showed the systematic thinking and attention to detail that marked exceptional operators, qualities that couldn't be taught but had to be developed through experience and natural aptitude. The evaluation continued with increasingly challenging scenarios, designed to test Sarah's abilities under stress and with limited preparation time. Morrison introduced time constraints and multiple target engagements that required rapid decision-making while maintaining precision standards. He was looking for evidence that Sarah could perform under the kind of pressure that characterized actual combat operations. Throughout the evaluation, Sarah maintained her composure and focus, treating each challenge as an opportunity to demonstrate her capabilities rather than a test to be passed or failed. Her confidence was evident, but not arrogant, and she showed the kind of professional pride that motivated elite performers to exceed expectations rather than merely meet minimum standards. As the morning progressed, Morrison became increasingly impressed with what he was witnessing. Sarah's technical skills were exceptional, but more importantly, she demonstrated the mental attributes that would be essential for the mission his team was preparing to undertake. She showed adaptability, composure under pressure, and the kind of problem-solving ability that could mean the difference between mission success and failure. The other team members were also evaluating Sarah, each bringing their own expertise and perspective to the assessment. They watched how she interacted with new people, how she responded to suggestions and feedback, and whether she showed the kind of team-oriented thinking that would be essential for integrated operations. Special operations work required individuals who were both highly skilled and able to function effectively as part of a cohesive unit. Sarah was aware that she was being evaluated on multiple levels, and she approached each interaction with the professionalism that had served her well throughout her career. She answered questions directly and honestly, provided information when requested, and demonstrated the kind of transparency that builds trust in military organizations. She understood that technical skills alone wouldn't be sufficient, and that personal character and reliability were equally important factors in selection decisions. The conversation eventually turned to Sarah's willingness to undertake assignments that would involve significant personal risk and extended periods away from normal military routines. Morrison needed to understand whether she was prepared for the demands of special operations work, which went far beyond the structured environment of regular military service. The missions his team conducted often required individuals to operate independently in dangerous situations where backup might not be available. Sarah's response showed that she had given serious thought to the direction of her career and was prepared to accept the challenges that came with higher levels of responsibility and risk. She understood that exceptional opportunities often came with exceptional demands, and she was ready to make the commitments necessary to serve at the highest levels of military capability. By the end of the evaluation session, Morrison had gathered enough information to make a preliminary assessment of Sarah's suitability for his team's mission. Her technical skills were clearly exceptional, and her personal attributes suggested that she could adapt to the unique demands of special operations work. However, the final decision would depend on additional factors that could only be evaluated through more extensive interaction and training. The conversation concluded with Morrison providing Sarah with limited information about potential future opportunities, while maintaining the operational security necessary for classified missions. He explained that further evaluation would be required, and that she should be prepared for additional assessments that would test different aspects of her capabilities. The timeline for these activities would depend on operational requirements that couldn't be discussed in detail. Sarah left the encounter understanding that she had performed well during the evaluation, but also recognizing that this was just the beginning of a process that could lead to significant changes in her military career. She had demonstrated her technical capabilities, but she knew that special operations selection involved much more comprehensive evaluation of an individual's complete range of attributes. The remainder of the day was spent in routine training activities, but Sarah's mind kept returning to her conversation with Morrison and his team. She sensed that she was being considered for something significant, and she began mentally preparing herself for the challenges that might lie ahead. Her commitment to excellence had opened this door, and she was determined to prove herself worthy of whatever opportunities might arise. As evening approached and the training facility began to quiet down, Sarah reflected on the path that had brought her to this point. Years of dedicated effort, countless hours of practice, and an unwavering commitment to improvement had created the foundation for her current capabilities. She understood that talent alone wasn't sufficient for sustained success, and that her achievements were the result of disciplined effort applied consistently over time. The mountain air was cooling as Sarah packed her equipment for the day, and the setting sun painted the sky in brilliant colors that reminded her why she loved this environment. The clarity and peace of these mountains had provided the perfect setting for developing her skills, and she felt a deep appreciation for the opportunities that had brought her to this point in her career. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and opportunities, and Sarah was ready to meet them with the same dedication and professionalism that had defined her approach to every aspect of her military service. She had proven herself capable of exceptional performance, and she was prepared to continue pushing the boundaries of what was possible when skill, dedication, and opportunity aligned perfectly. The drive back to her quarters gave Sarah time to process the day's events and consider what might lie ahead. She understood that her conversation with Morrison represented a potential turning point in her career, though the specific nature of future opportunities remained unclear. What was certain was that her commitment to excellence had been recognized by individuals whose opinion carried significant weight in the special operations community. As she settled in for the evening, Sarah's thoughts turned to the training and preparation that would be necessary if she were selected for whatever mission Morrison's team was planning. She knew that special operations work demanded capabilities that went far beyond conventional military training, and she was already mentally preparing herself for the challenges that might lie ahead. Her confidence was tempered by respect for the difficulties that awaited, but she was ready to prove herself worthy of the trust that might be placed in her. The secure briefing room at the classified facility was windowless and sterile, its walls lined with sound-dampening material that absorbed even the faintest whisper. Sarah had been summoned here 3 days after her evaluation with Commander Morrison, though the intervening time had passed without any indication of what decision had been reached regarding her future. She entered the room to find Morrison and his team already seated around a polished conference table, their expressions serious and focused. Maps covered one wall, showing terrain features and topographical details of what appeared to be a mountainous region in an undisclosed location. Red circles and tactical symbols marked various positions, though the specific meaning of these annotations wasn't immediately clear. Sarah took the seat indicated by Morrison, noting that the atmosphere in the room carried the weight of impending operations where lives would hang in the balance. Morrison began the briefing without preamble, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had conducted countless similar sessions, where mission success was measured in lives saved rather than objectives achieved. The situation he described was complex and dangerous, involving the rescue of American personnel held in a remote location where conventional military approaches would be ineffective. The hostages were being held in a compound situated in terrain that made direct assault extremely hazardous, and intelligence indicated that any obvious rescue attempt would result in their immediate execution. The compound was positioned on a mountainside with excellent defensive advantages, surrounded by open ground that provided clear fields of fire for the hostage-takers. Multiple guard positions had been identified through satellite imagery and human intelligence reports, each one positioned to provide overlapping coverage of potential approach routes. Any rescue force would be exposed to withering fire from multiple directions, unless the defensive positions could be neutralized simultaneously and silently. Sarah listened intently as Morrison explained the tactical situation, her mind automatically analyzing the challenges and requirements that such a mission would entail. The distances involved were extreme, with the farthest guard positions located over 1,800 yards from the nearest concealed firing positions available to a rescue force. Weather conditions in the target area were unpredictable, with high winds and rapidly changing atmospheric conditions that would complicate long-range shooting. The mission window was narrow, requiring all defensive positions to be eliminated within a matter of minutes to prevent the guards from alerting their colleagues or harming the hostages. Morrison's team had been tasked with conducting the rescue operation, but they lacked the specialized long-range shooting capability necessary to neutralize the guard positions from the required distances. Standard military snipers were skilled marksmen, but this mission demanded precision that went far beyond normal military requirements. The shots would need to be taken in challenging environmental conditions, at extreme ranges, and with absolutely no margin for error. A single missed shot would compromise the entire operation and likely result in the death of American hostages. The intelligence picture continued to evolve as Morrison presented additional details about the target compound and its defenders. Satellite imagery showed that the guards maintained irregular patrol patterns, making timing critical for any engagement plan. The hostile force was well-armed and experienced, having successfully defended their position against several previous rescue attempts by other nations. They had learned from these encounters and had improved their defensive arrangements to make future rescue efforts even more difficult. Weather reports for the target area indicated that conditions would be marginal during the planned mission window, with high winds and the possibility of precipitation that could affect visibility and bullet trajectory. The altitude of the compound added another layer of complexity, as the thin air would alter ballistic calculations in ways that had to be precisely accounted for. These environmental factors combined to create shooting conditions that would challenge even the most skilled marksman. Morrison explained that his team had identified Sarah as potentially possessing the unique combination of technical skill and mental toughness necessary for this mission, but that final selection would depend on her ability to demonstrate proficiency under conditions that simulated the actual operational environment. The evaluation would take place over several days and would test not just her shooting ability, but her capacity to function effectively as part of an integrated special operations team. The training facility where this evaluation would occur was located in a remote area that replicated many of the environmental conditions expected in the target area. High altitude, unpredictable weather, and challenging terrain would provide a realistic setting for testing Sarah's capabilities under operational stress. The evaluation would be conducted using live ammunition and scenarios that closely matched the actual mission requirements. Sarah understood that this briefing represented far more than just another military assignment. The lives of American hostages depended on mission success, and failure wasn't an option when fellow service members were counting on rescue. She felt the weight of responsibility that came with such situations, but also the determination that had driven her throughout her career to exceed expectations when the stakes were highest. The technical requirements for the mission were explained in detail, including the specific shooting challenges that would need to be overcome. Multiple targets would need to be engaged simultaneously by different team members, requiring precise coordination and timing. Communication would be limited to prevent detection, meaning that each shooter would need to operate with minimal guidance once the mission began. The margin for error was essentially zero, as any failure to neutralize a target completely would alert the remaining guards and compromise the rescue effort. Morrison's team members each brought specialized capabilities to the mission, but none possessed the extreme long-range shooting skills that would be required for the most challenging shots. They had identified positions from which shorter-range engagements could be conducted, but the key defensive positions could only be effectively engaged from extreme distances, where Sarah's unique capabilities would be essential. The weapons and equipment available for the mission included some of the most advanced systems in the military inventory, designed specifically for special operations use where conventional equipment wasn't sufficient. Custom rifles built to exacting specifications, specialized ammunition designed for extreme accuracy, and advanced optics that could function effectively in challenging environmental conditions. Sarah would have access to whatever equipment was necessary to accomplish the mission, though she would need to demonstrate proficiency with systems that might be different from those she normally used. The evaluation process would begin immediately, with Sarah joining Morrison's team for intensive training that would test every aspect of her capabilities. Physical conditioning, weapons proficiency, tactical knowledge, and psychological resilience would all be evaluated through scenarios designed to replicate the stress and complexity of actual combat operations. The team would need to function as a cohesive unit, with each member understanding not just their own role, but how their actions affected the entire mission. Sarah accepted the challenge without hesitation, understanding that this represented the kind of opportunity that came rarely in a military career. The chance to serve at the highest levels of capability, to make a direct impact on the lives of fellow Americans, and to prove herself among the elite operators of the special operations community. The risks were significant, but so was the potential to make a difference when it mattered most. The training began with familiarization on the specialized equipment that would be used for the mission. Sarah was introduced to a custom rifle system that represented the pinnacle of precision shooting technology, built specifically for extreme long-range work in challenging environments. Every component had been selected and adjusted to provide maximum accuracy and reliability under the demanding conditions expected during the mission. The rifle's barrel was made from premium steel that had been stress-relieved and precisely machined to tolerances measured in thousandths of an inch. The action was a custom design that provided exceptional rigidity and consistency, essential for maintaining accuracy when shooting at extreme ranges. The trigger was adjustable to the individual shooter's preferences, allowing for the precise control necessary when every shot had to count. The optics system was equally impressive, featuring advanced technology that could compensate for atmospheric conditions and provide accurate range information even in poor visibility. The scope included ballistic computers that could calculate precise holdover and windage corrections based on real-time environmental data. These features would be crucial when engaging targets at ranges where traditional estimation methods became unreliable. Ammunition for the mission was custom-loaded to specifications that maximized accuracy and consistency. Each cartridge was assembled using premium components that had been individually inspected and tested. The bullets were precision-made projectiles designed for optimal ballistic performance, and the powder charges were weighed to within a tenth of a grain to ensure consistent velocity. This level of attention to detail was necessary when shooting at distances where small variations in ammunition performance could result in significant point-of-impact changes. Sarah spent considerable time familiarizing herself with this equipment, learning its capabilities and limitations through extensive practice sessions. She worked with the team's technical specialist to understand how environmental factors would affect the rifle's performance, and how to make the adjustments necessary to maintain accuracy under varying conditions. This knowledge would be crucial during the actual mission, where there might not be time for extensive preparation or adjustment. The training scenarios became progressively more challenging as Sarah demonstrated her ability to adapt to the new equipment and integrate with Morrison's team. Live-fire exercises were conducted under conditions that replicated the stress and time pressure expected during the actual mission. Multiple targets had to be engaged in sequence, with precise timing to ensure that all defensive positions were neutralized before any guards could react. Communication protocols were practiced extensively, as the team would need to coordinate their actions without revealing their positions to the enemy. Hand signals, radio procedures, and contingency plans were rehearsed until they became automatic responses that could be executed even under extreme stress. Sarah learned not just her own role in these procedures, but how her actions needed to support the overall mission objectives. Physical conditioning was another crucial aspect of the training, as the mission would require the team to operate in challenging terrain while carrying heavy equipment. Sarah had always maintained excellent fitness standards, but special operations work demanded capabilities that went beyond normal military requirements. Endurance, strength, and agility all needed to be developed to levels that would allow effective performance even after hours of physical exertion. The psychological aspects of the mission were addressed through scenarios designed to test mental resilience and decision-making ability under pressure. Sarah was placed in situations where she had to make critical decisions with incomplete information and limited time, simulating the kind of challenges that could arise during actual operations. These exercises revealed not just her technical capabilities, but her ability to think clearly and act decisively when lives were at stake. Morrison observed Sarah's performance throughout the training process, evaluating not just her shooting skills, but her overall suitability for special operations work. He watched how she interacted with other team members, how she responded to criticism and suggestions, and whether she demonstrated the kind of adaptability that would be essential for mission success. Her performance consistently exceeded expectations, showing not just technical proficiency but the mental attributes that distinguished elite operators. The team dynamics evolved as Sarah integrated with Morrison's experienced operators, each member learning to trust in the other's capabilities and commitment to mission success. This trust was essential for special operations work, where team members often had to depend on each other in life-threatening situations. Sarah proved herself not just as a skilled marksman, but as a reliable team member who could be counted on when the stakes were highest. Advanced shooting scenarios tested Sarah's ability to engage multiple targets under time pressure, while maintaining the precision necessary for mission success. Targets were positioned at various ranges and elevations, requiring rapid calculations and adjustments between shots. The exercises revealed that Sarah possessed not just exceptional technical skills, but the mental agility necessary to process complex information quickly and accurately. Weather training exposed the team to conditions similar to those expected in the target area, including high winds, temperature extremes, and reduced visibility. Sarah learned to read environmental conditions and make the necessary adjustments to maintain accuracy, even when atmospheric factors were constantly changing. This training was crucial for developing the intuitive understanding of ballistics that would be necessary when theoretical calculations weren't sufficient. Night operations training added another layer of complexity to the mission preparation, as the rescue would likely be conducted under cover of darkness to maximize the element of surprise. Sarah learned to use advanced night vision equipment and low-light shooting techniques that would allow her to engage targets effectively, even when visibility was severely limited. These skills required extensive practice to develop the confidence necessary for accurate shooting in challenging conditions. Emergency procedures were practiced repeatedly, ensuring that every team member knew how to respond to various contingencies that might arise during the mission. Equipment failures, communications problems, and unexpected enemy actions all required specific responses that had to be executed quickly and correctly. Sarah learned not just her primary role in the mission, but also how to adapt when circumstances changed unexpectedly. The final phase of training involved full mission rehearsals conducted under conditions that replicated the actual operational environment as closely as possible. Mock targets were positioned at the same ranges and elevations as the real defensive positions, and the team practiced their coordinated engagement sequence until it became a precisely choreographed operation. Timing was critical, as all targets had to be neutralized within a narrow window to prevent any guards from alerting their colleagues. Sarah's performance during these rehearsals demonstrated that she had successfully integrated with Morrison's team and was ready for the actual mission. Her shooting was consistently accurate, even under the stress and time pressure of realistic scenarios, and she showed the kind of cool professionalism that marked elite operators. Morrison's confidence in her capabilities grew with each training session, and he began to believe that the mission had a realistic chance of success. The weapons systems were tested extensively to ensure that they would perform reliably under operational conditions. Sarah worked with the team's armorers to fine-tune her rifle's performance, making minute adjustments to optimize accuracy and reliability. Every component was inspected and tested to ensure that equipment failure wouldn't compromise the mission when American lives were at stake. Intelligence updates continued to refine the team's understanding of the target compound and its defenders, providing additional details that would be crucial for mission planning. Guard rotation schedules, weapon positions, and defensive arrangements were all analyzed to identify the optimal timing and approach for the rescue operation. This information was integrated into the team's tactical plans and rehearsal scenarios. Sarah's role in the mission was clearly defined through the training process, with specific targets assigned based on her unique capabilities and the ranges involved. She would be responsible for neutralizing the most challenging defensive positions, those that could only be effectively engaged from extreme distances where conventional marksmen would be ineffective. The success of the entire rescue operation would depend significantly on her ability to eliminate these threats silently and simultaneously with the other team members' actions. The pressure of this responsibility was something Sarah embraced rather than feared, understanding that her years of training and dedication had prepared her for exactly this kind of challenge. She felt confident in her abilities and in the support of Morrison's experienced team, knowing that together they represented the best chance for rescuing the American hostages and bringing them home safely. Final equipment checks and mission briefings occupied the last days before deployment, ensuring that every detail had been considered and every contingency planned for. Sarah spent time with her rifle, confirming zero, and practicing the specific shots she would need to make during the mission. The weapon had become an extension of herself, responding to her control with the precision that would be necessary for mission success. Morrison conducted final team meetings to review the mission plan and ensure that everyone understood their roles and responsibilities. The complexity of the operation required perfect coordination between team members, with each person's actions supporting the overall objectives. Sarah listened to these briefings with the focus of someone who understood that lives depended on flawless execution of their plan. As deployment approached, Sarah felt the mixture of anticipation and determination that had characterized every significant challenge in her military career. She was ready to prove herself at the highest levels of military capability, to make a difference when it mattered most, and to demonstrate that excellence could emerge from unexpected places when opportunity met preparation. The mission ahead would test everything she had learned and trained for, and she was prepared to meet that challenge with the professionalism and skill that had brought her to this point. The helicopter's rotors carved through the pre-dawn darkness as the team approached their insertion point, the aircraft flying nap of the earth to avoid detection by enemy radar systems. Sarah felt the familiar weight of her equipment pressing against her body, every piece of gear secured and positioned for rapid deployment once they reached the ground. The custom rifle lay across her lap, its familiar contours providing reassurance in the face of the unknown challenges that lay ahead. Morrison's voice crackled through the team's communication system, providing final updates on intelligence and weather conditions at the target site. Wind speeds were within acceptable parameters, though gusting conditions near the ridgeline would require careful consideration for the longer shots. Cloud cover was broken, providing adequate visibility while offering concealment from potential observation posts that intelligence hadn't identified. The insertion zone was located 12 kilometers from the target compound, far enough to prevent detection but close enough to allow the team to reach their firing positions within the mission timeline. The terrain between the landing zone and their objective was rugged mountain country, characterized by steep slopes, loose rock, and unpredictable weather patterns that could change rapidly as altitude increased. Sarah had studied the topographical maps extensively during mission preparation, memorizing elevation changes, potential hazards, and alternative routes that might be necessary if the primary approach became compromised. The route to her assigned firing position would take her along a narrow ridge that offered excellent visibility of the target compound while providing concealment from enemy observation. The challenge would be reaching that position undetected while carrying the specialized equipment necessary for extreme long-range shooting. The helicopter flared and settled onto a small clearing surrounded by dense forest, its engines immediately beginning the shutdown sequence to minimize noise and heat signatures that might alert enemy forces. Sarah and the team exited quickly, their movements practiced and efficient despite the darkness and unfamiliar terrain. Each team member had specific equipment loads designed for their individual missions, with Sarah carrying additional ammunition and specialized optics that would be crucial for her long-range engagements. Morrison led the team away from the landing zone along a predetermined route that avoided potential observation points and areas where their movement might be detected by enemy patrols. The pace was steady but sustainable, designed to reach their objective positions with enough time for careful preparation while maintaining the energy necessary for precise shooting. Sarah moved with the quiet confidence that had characterized her throughout the training process, her equipment secured to prevent noise while allowing rapid access when needed. The ascent toward the ridge positions was challenging, requiring careful route selection to avoid loose rock that might create noise or movement that could be detected from the target compound. Sarah's physical conditioning proved invaluable as the team climbed through increasingly difficult terrain, maintaining formation while carrying heavy loads at altitude where the thin air made every step more demanding. Navigation was conducted using GPS systems and traditional map and compass techniques, providing redundancy in case electronic systems failed or were compromised by enemy countermeasures. Sarah had practiced these skills extensively during training, developing the ability to maintain accurate position awareness even in unfamiliar terrain under stress conditions. This capability would be crucial if the team needed to adapt their plan or execute emergency extraction procedures. As they approached the final approach to their firing positions, Morrison called a halt to conduct final equipment checks and review the synchronized timing that would be crucial for mission success. Each team member confirmed their weapon status, communication systems, and understanding of the engagement sequence that would begin once all positions were occupied and ready. Sarah verified her rifle's zero using a portable laser system that confirmed her scope's alignment without revealing their position through muzzle flash or sound. The final movement to Sarah's firing position required extreme care to avoid detection, as she would be operating within potential observation range of enemy sentries. She moved using techniques learned during special operations training, utilizing available cover and concealment while maintaining awareness of her equipment's security and readiness. The specialized rifle remained secured but accessible, ready for rapid deployment once she reached her designated location. Sarah's assigned position was located on a rocky outcrop that provided excellent visibility of the target compound while offering natural concealment from enemy observation. The range to her primary targets was measured at 1,750 yards, well within her demonstrated capabilities, but requiring precise calculation of environmental factors that could affect bullet trajectory. Secondary targets were positioned at varying distances, requiring rapid engagement transitions that would test her ability to adapt quickly between different ballistic solutions. The firing position setup was conducted with meticulous attention to detail, as every aspect of her shooting platform would affect accuracy at extreme range. Sarah used specialized equipment to create a stable shooting rest that would provide consistent support for her rifle, while allowing rapid transition between multiple targets. The position was camouflaged, using natural materials that wouldn't interfere with her shooting but would help conceal her location from enemy observation. Environmental conditions were carefully assessed using instruments that measured wind speed, direction, temperature, and atmospheric pressure at her location. These readings would be crucial for calculating precise ballistic solutions, as small variations in atmospheric conditions could result in significant changes in bullet impact at long range. Sarah made careful notes of these measurements, knowing that conditions could change during the mission and require real-time adjustments to her shooting solutions. Communication checks with other team members confirmed that all positions were occupied and ready, with each operator reporting their status and target assignments. The coordination required for simultaneous engagement of multiple targets demanded precise timing, as any delay or failure could alert remaining enemies and compromise the rescue operation. Sarah confirmed her understanding of the engagement sequence and timing, knowing that her shots would be among the most critical for mission success. The target compound was clearly visible through her scope, with enemy positions identified and marked according to the intelligence briefings she had studied extensively. Guards were positioned at strategic locations that provided excellent defensive coverage of potential approach routes, making conventional assault extremely hazardous for any rescue force. Sarah's role was to neutralize the most dangerous positions, those that could direct effective fire against rescue teams moving toward the hostage location. Her primary target was a sentry position located in a tower that dominated the compound's southern approach, the route that Morrison's assault team would use to reach the building where hostages were being held. The guard in this position carried a crew-served weapon capable of devastating any force attempting to cross the open ground below the compound. Eliminating this threat would be crucial for allowing the rescue team to advance without taking prohibitive casualties. The secondary targets included 2 roving patrols that maintained irregular schedules around the compound's perimeter, their unpredictable movement patterns making timing critical for engagement. Intelligence indicated that these patrols maintained radio contact with a central command post, meaning that failure to neutralize them quickly could result in alerts that would compromise the entire operation. Sarah's ability to engage multiple targets in rapid succession would be essential for preventing such communications. Wind conditions at the target site were complex, with different velocities and directions at various elevations between Sarah's position and her targets. She used her scope's ranging capability to identify reference points at different distances, allowing her to observe wind effects and make adjustments for the varying conditions her bullets would encounter during flight. This analysis was critical for achieving first-round hits at extreme range, as follow-up shots might not be possible if the element of surprise was lost. The custom ammunition loaded specifically for this mission represented the pinnacle of precision cartridge development, with each round assembled to exacting specifications that maximized accuracy and consistency. Sarah had tested this ammunition extensively during training, developing confidence in its performance characteristics under various environmental conditions. The ballistic data she had compiled would be crucial for making precise adjustments based on real-time conditions at the target site. Morrison's voice came through the communication system with final timing coordination, confirming that all team elements were in position and ready for the synchronized engagement that would begin the rescue operation. The assault team was positioned to begin their approach immediately following the elimination of perimeter defenses, their route carefully planned to take advantage of the chaos that would follow the sniper attacks. Timing would be critical, as the window of opportunity would be brief before remaining enemies could organize an effective defense. Sarah settled into her shooting position with the deliberate movements that had become second nature through thousands of hours of practice. Her breathing slowed and became controlled, her heart rate settling into the rhythm that provided the most stable platform for precision shooting. The rifle felt perfectly balanced in her hands, its familiar weight and dimensions providing confidence in her ability to deliver accurate fire when every shot had to count. The scope's reticle settled on her primary target, the guard tower, where an enemy sentry maintained watch over the compound's approaches. Through the magnified image, she could see the individual clearly, his position and movement patterns matching the intelligence briefings exactly. The range was confirmed at 1,748 yards, requiring careful calculation of bullet drop and wind drift to ensure a precise hit. Environmental conditions were factored into her ballistic solution, with wind speed measured at 8 miles per hour from the left, temperature at 42 degrees Fahrenheit, and atmospheric pressure adjusted for the target site's elevation. These factors combined to require a holdover of 2.7 minutes of angle for elevation and 1.2 minutes for wind drift. Sarah made the necessary adjustments to her point of aim, knowing that precision at this range left no margin for error. The engagement signal came through her earpiece as a single word from Morrison, the culmination of weeks of planning and preparation distilled into a moment when everything depended on flawless execution. Sarah's finger found the trigger's exact breakpoint, the pressure building steadily until the rifle fired with a clean release that sent the bullet on its precisely calculated trajectory toward the target. Through the scope, she watched the bullet's impact and immediately began transitioning to her second target, knowing that the synchronized timing demanded rapid engagement of multiple threats. The roving patrol was moving across her field of view at a range of 1,200 yards, requiring different ballistic calculations but offering a larger target area that reduced the precision requirements slightly. Her second shot broke clean, the rifle cycling smoothly as she transitioned to the third target location where the second patrol should be visible. The timing was critical, as these targets had to be eliminated before they could react to the sound of gunfire or observe the effects of her shooting. Sarah's training took over, her movements automatic and precise as she searched for and acquired the final target. The third shot completed her assigned engagements, all 3 targets neutralized within the 15-second window that intelligence had determined was necessary to prevent alert communications. Sarah immediately began scanning for additional threats or targets of opportunity, knowing that her role in the mission was far from complete even though her primary assignments had been accomplished. Morrison's assault team was already in motion, moving across the open ground toward the compound with the speed and precision that characterized elite military units. Sarah provided overwatch for their movement, ready to engage any threats that might emerge as the rescue operation developed. Her position offered excellent visibility of potential enemy positions, and her rifle remained ready for rapid engagement if circumstances required. The compound's remaining defenders were slow to react to the sudden elimination of their perimeter security, providing the assault team with precious seconds to reach covered positions near the main buildings. Sarah watched through her scope as Morrison's operators moved with practiced efficiency, each team member executing their assigned role in the complex choreography of a special operations assault. Gunfire erupted from within the compound as the assault team engaged defenders who had taken cover inside the buildings, the sound echoing off the surrounding mountains in a crescendo of controlled violence. Sarah maintained her overwatch position, scanning for targets that might threaten the rescue operation or attempt to escape the compound with intelligence about the team's capabilities and mission. A movement in one of the compound's outer buildings caught her attention, and she adjusted her scope to investigate what appeared to be an enemy fighter attempting to establish a firing position that could threaten the assault team's flank. The range was shorter than her previous engagements, but the target was partially concealed and moving unpredictably, requiring quick target acquisition and engagement before the threat could materialize. Sarah's fourth shot of the mission eliminated this threat, demonstrating the versatility that had made her invaluable to Morrison's team. She could engage targets at extreme range with precision, but also adapt to close-range situations that required rapid target acquisition and engagement. This flexibility would prove crucial as the mission developed and unexpected situations arose. The rescue team's advance continued into the compound's interior, where intelligence indicated the hostages were being held in a fortified structure designed to resist assault attempts. The building's construction required specialized breaching techniques that Morrison's team had practiced extensively, but success would depend on maintaining the element of surprise that Sarah's sniper support had provided. Communication intercepts indicated that the compound's defenders were attempting to coordinate a response to the assault, but the elimination of key personnel had disrupted their command structure and prevented effective resistance. Sarah continued her Overwatch mission, ready to provide fire support if the assault team encountered organized opposition that threatened to halt their advance toward the hostage location. The breach of the hostage building was conducted with explosive charges that created multiple entry points simultaneously, preventing defenders from concentrating their fire on a single approach route. Sarah watched through her scope as smoke and debris billowed from the building, marking the beginning of the close-quarters battle that would determine the mission's ultimate success or failure. Interior fighting was brief but intense, with Morrison's operators using their superior training and equipment to overcome defenders who had been disorganized by the surprise attack. The specialized tactics and equipment that characterized Special Operations Forces proved decisive in the confined spaces where conventional weapons and tactics would have been less effective. The first hostages emerged from the building within minutes of the breach, escorted by rescue team members who maintained security while evacuating American personnel who had been held captive for months. Sarah felt a surge of satisfaction as she watched fellow Americans walking to freedom, knowing that her contribution had been essential for making this moment possible. Additional hostages followed, their number matching intelligence estimates and confirming that the rescue operation had achieved its primary objective. The evacuation proceeded according to plan, with rescue team members maintaining security while hostages were moved to a designated collection point where they could receive medical attention and prepare for extraction. Sarah maintained her Overwatch position throughout the evacuation process, scanning for threats that might emerge as enemy forces in the surrounding area became aware of the assault on the compound. Her position provided excellent visibility of potential approach routes that hostile forces might use to interfere with the extraction operation, and her rifle remained ready for long-range engagement if required. The extraction helicopter appeared on schedule, approaching the compound using routes that avoided known enemy positions, while providing rapid evacuation capability for the rescue team and liberated hostages. Sarah coordinated with the aircraft's crew to provide security information about the surrounding area, helping to ensure that the extraction could be completed without interference from enemy forces. As the helicopter settled into the compound's courtyard, Sarah began preparing for her own extraction from the Overwatch position. Her equipment was secured systematically, ensuring that no sensitive materials would be left behind while maintaining readiness for immediate movement if the tactical situation required rapid displacement. The evacuation of hostages and rescue team members proceeded smoothly, with each individual boarding the aircraft according to predetermined procedures that maximized efficiency while maintaining security. Sarah watched through her scope as American personnel who had faced uncertain futures were taken to safety, their rescue representing the successful completion of months of planning and preparation. Morrison's voice came through the communication system with instructions for Sarah's extraction, confirming that her Overwatch mission was complete and that she should move to a designated pickup point where she could be recovered by the extraction aircraft. The route to this location required careful movement to avoid potential enemy observation while maintaining the security of her specialized equipment. Sarah's movement from her firing position was conducted with the same care that had characterized her initial approach, understanding that operational security remained critical until all team members were safely extracted from the area. Her equipment was packed efficiently, with the custom rifle secured for transport while remaining accessible if circumstances required its use during extraction. The pickup point was located in a small clearing that provided adequate space for helicopter operations while offering concealment from potential enemy observation. Sarah reached this location within the specified time frame, her movement undetected by any hostile forces that might have been responding to the assault on the compound. The extraction helicopter's arrival marked the successful completion of Sarah's first Special Operations mission, her performance having exceeded even Morrison's high expectations. As she boarded the aircraft with her equipment, she felt the satisfaction that came from contributing to an operation that had achieved its objectives while bringing American hostages home safely. During the flight back to the secure facility, Sarah reflected on the mission and her role in its success. The months of training and preparation had culminated in a few hours of intense action where every skill she had developed was tested under the most demanding conditions imaginable. Her performance had validated Morrison's confidence in her abilities and established her reputation within the special operations community. The debriefing process that followed the mission was comprehensive, with every aspect of the operation analyzed to identify lessons learned and areas for improvement. Sarah's shooting performance was reviewed in detail, with her precise elimination of multiple targets at extreme range being recognized as crucial for the mission's success. The data collected would be used to refine techniques and procedures for future operations. Morrison's assessment of Sarah's performance was unequivocally positive, confirming that she possessed not just exceptional technical skills, but the complete package of attributes necessary for special operations work. Her ability to perform under extreme pressure, adapt to changing circumstances, and function effectively as part of an elite team had been proven under the most demanding conditions possible. The rescued hostages provided intelligence about their captivity and the compound's defenses that validated much of the information used for mission planning while revealing additional details that would be valuable for future operations. Their successful rescue represented not just a tactical victory, but a strategic success that demonstrated American capability to protect its personnel anywhere in the world. Sarah's integration into Morrison's team was formalized following the mission's success, with her assignment to the unit providing access to training and equipment that represented the pinnacle of military capability. The opportunities ahead would be challenging and dangerous, but they would also allow her to serve at the highest levels of military excellence while making a direct impact on national security. The custom rifle that had performed so reliably during the mission became Sarah's permanent equipment, its proven accuracy and reliability making it an essential tool for future operations. The weapon had performed flawlessly under demanding conditions, validating the intensive development and testing that had gone into its creation. Word of the mission's success spread through appropriate channels within the military and intelligence communities, though operational details remained classified to protect methods and capabilities that would be used in future operations. Sarah's role in the mission was recognized by those who understood the significance of her contribution, though public recognition was neither expected nor desired. The training regimen that followed focused on maintaining and improving the skills that had proven so valuable during the rescue operation, while developing new capabilities that would be needed for different types of missions. Sarah's education in special operations continued with exposure to advanced techniques and technologies that expanded her understanding of what was possible when resources and expertise were unlimited. Future missions would present different challenges, requiring adaptability and continuous learning to maintain effectiveness against evolving threats. Sarah embraced these challenges with the same dedication that had brought her to this point, understanding that excellence required constant effort and improvement regardless of past achievements. The relationships formed with Morrison's team members developed into the deep professional bonds that characterized elite military units, built on mutual respect and shared experiences that few people would ever understand. These connections would prove invaluable in future operations where trust and teamwork would be essential for survival and mission success. Sarah's reputation within the special operations community continued to grow, as her capabilities became known to other units and commanders who might require specialized shooting skills for their missions. The demand for her unique abilities would provide opportunities to serve in various capacities while contributing to national security objectives around the world. The lessons learned from her first special operations mission were incorporated into her ongoing training and preparation, ensuring that future performance would benefit from experience gained under actual combat conditions. Each mission would add to her knowledge and capability, building a foundation of expertise that would make her increasingly valuable to the special operations community. The satisfaction that came from successful mission completion was tempered by understanding that this was just the beginning of a career that would involve continuous challenges and risks. Sarah accepted these realities with the maturity and professionalism that had characterized her approach throughout her military service, ready to meet whatever demands might arise. As she settled into her new role within Morrison's team, Sarah understood that she had found her place within the military structure, where her unique talents could make the greatest contribution. The path ahead would be demanding and often dangerous, but it would also provide opportunities to serve at the highest levels of capability while making a real difference in protecting American interests and personnel. The quiet satisfaction of excellence achieved without fanfare or recognition suited Sarah's personality and values, confirming that she had chosen the right path for applying her skills and dedication. Her strength lay not in seeking glory or acknowledgement, but in delivering exceptional performance when lives depended on precision and professionalism. The future held promise for continued service at the highest levels of military capability, where Sarah's unique combination of technical skill and personal character would continue to prove invaluable. She was ready to meet whatever challenges lay ahead, confident in her abilities and committed to the standards of excellence that defined Special Operations Forces. The weeks following the successful hostage rescue operation brought a different kind of intensity to Sarah's life. one characterized by rigorous evaluation and a careful expansion of her role within Morrison's specialized team. The secure facility where she now worked daily had become a second home, its sterile corridors and high-tech training areas representing the cutting edge of military capability development. Each morning brought new challenges designed to push her skills beyond their previous limits, ensuring that her exceptional performance during the rescue mission was not an isolated achievement, but rather a foundation upon which even greater capabilities could be built. The debriefing process had been exhaustive, with analysts from various agencies examining every aspect of her shooting performance to extract lessons that could be applied to future operations. Video footage from her scope's recording system was studied frame by frame, revealing nuances of technique that even Sarah herself hadn't been consciously aware of during the heat of combat. These analysis sessions were conducted with the thoroughness that characterized all special operations activities, where understanding the smallest details could mean the difference between success and failure in future missions. Morrison had been particularly interested in Sarah's ability to adapt her shooting solutions in real time, as environmental conditions changed during the mission. Wind patterns at the target site had shifted significantly between her first and final shots, requiring instantaneous recalculation of ballistic data that would have challenged even experienced snipers. Her intuitive understanding of these variables, combined with her technical knowledge, had allowed her to maintain accuracy throughout the engagement sequence without the luxury of ranging shots or adjustment fire. The intelligence gathered from the rescued hostages provided valuable insights into the compound's defenses and the capabilities of the hostile force they had defeated. Their detailed debriefings revealed that several previous rescue attempts by other nations had failed due to inadequate long-range fire support, confirming that Sarah's specialized capabilities had been the critical factor enabling mission success. This validation of her unique value to special operations had immediate implications for her future assignments and training priorities. Advanced ballistics research became a significant component of Sarah's continuing education, with access to laboratories and testing facilities that pushed the boundaries of what was possible in precision shooting. She worked with ammunition developers to refine cartridge specifications even further, exploring new bullet designs and powder formulations that could extend effective range while maintaining the accuracy standards necessary for special operations work. These projects combined theoretical knowledge with practical testing, allowing Sarah to understand not just how to use advanced ammunition, but why certain characteristics produced superior performance. The custom rifle that had performed so reliably during the rescue mission underwent detailed analysis to identify areas where further improvements might be possible. Microscopic examination of the barrel revealed wear patterns that provided insights into optimal maintenance schedules and replacement criteria. The action was disassembled completely, with each component measured and evaluated to ensure that manufacturing tolerances remained within specifications that guaranteed consistent accuracy. Sarah's training regimen expanded to include scenarios that tested her capabilities under even more challenging conditions than those encountered during the rescue mission. Extreme weather training exposed her to temperature and wind conditions that pushed equipment and human performance to their limits. She learned to maintain accuracy when shooting in environments where conventional wisdom suggested that precision fire was impossible, developing techniques that would prove invaluable when future missions demanded performance beyond normal parameters. Urban warfare training presented entirely different challenges, requiring Sarah to adapt her long-range shooting skills to environments where targets might be partially concealed by buildings, vehicles, or other obstacles. The complex geometries of urban terrain demanded new approaches to range estimation and ballistic calculation, as bullet trajectories could be affected by structures that created unpredictable wind patterns and atmospheric disturbances. These skills would be essential for operations in populated areas where collateral damage concerns made precision even more critical. Maritime operations training introduced Sarah to the unique challenges of shooting from unstable platforms, where ship movement and salt air corrosion could affect both equipment and human performance. She learned to compensate for the motion of naval vessels, timing her shots to coincide with predictable movement patterns, while accounting for the effects of sea spray and humidity on ammunition performance. These skills expanded her versatility significantly, making her valuable for operations that might require deployment from maritime platforms. High-altitude training took place in environments that simulated the extreme elevations where some future missions might occur, where reduced atmospheric density significantly altered ballistic calculations. Sarah learned to account for the complex interactions between altitude, temperature, and humidity that could cause substantial changes in bullet trajectory at long ranges. The physical demands of operating at extreme elevation while maintaining precision shooting capability required adaptations to both equipment and technique. Cold weather operations training exposed Sarah to Arctic conditions where equipment reliability and human performance faced severe challenges. She learned to maintain her rifle's function in sub-zero temperatures where conventional lubricants could freeze and mechanical tolerances might change due to thermal contraction. Specialized clothing and equipment allowed her to maintain dexterity and warmth while preserving the ability to execute precise shots when environmental conditions would defeat less prepared operators. Desert warfare training presented the opposite extreme, with high temperatures and blowing sand creating different but equally challenging conditions for precision shooting. Sarah learned to account for mirage effects that could distort target images, while protecting her equipment from sand infiltration that could cause malfunctions at critical moments. The extreme heat affected both ammunition performance and human endurance, requiring careful resource management and tactical planning to maintain effectiveness throughout extended operations. Night operations capabilities were expanded through training with advanced thermal and infrared imaging systems that allowed precise target identification and engagement in complete darkness. Sarah learned to interpret thermal signatures and understand how environmental factors affected infrared radiation patterns that could reveal or conceal potential targets. These skills were crucial for operations where darkness provided tactical advantage but also created new challenges for target acquisition and identification. Counter-sniper training taught Sarah to identify and defeat enemy marksmen who might threaten friendly forces or compromise mission objectives. She learned to recognize the signatures of sniper positions and understand the tactical considerations that influenced enemy shooter placement and techniques. This knowledge was valuable both for avoiding enemy fire and for locating and neutralizing hostile snipers who posed threats to mission success. Electronic warfare considerations became increasingly important as potential adversaries developed sophisticated detection and jamming capabilities that could compromise special operations missions. Sarah learned to operate effectively when GPS navigation and digital communications were unreliable or completely unavailable. Traditional navigation and communication methods were practiced extensively, ensuring that mission-critical capabilities remained intact even when electronic systems were compromised by enemy action. Medical training expanded Sarah's capabilities beyond pure shooting skills, providing knowledge that could prove crucial during extended operations where immediate medical support might not be available. She learned advanced first aid techniques that could stabilize casualties until evacuation was possible, as well as basic surgical procedures that might be necessary in extreme circumstances. This training was particularly valuable for special operations personnel who often operated in remote areas where conventional medical support was unavailable. Language training began with crash courses in languages relevant to potential operational areas, providing Sarah with basic communication capabilities that could prove valuable during missions involving interaction with local populations. While fluency wasn't expected or necessary, understanding key phrases and cultural nuances could make the difference between mission success and failure when local cooperation was required for operational success. Cultural awareness training complemented language instruction by providing deeper understanding of social customs and behavioral patterns in regions where future missions might occur. Sarah learned to recognize cultural indicators that could reveal information about local attitudes, political affiliations, or potential security threats. This knowledge was particularly valuable for operations where blending with local populations or understanding community dynamics was necessary for mission success. Intelligence analysis training taught Sarah to interpret various types of information that might be relevant to operational planning and execution. She learned to evaluate satellite imagery, communication intercepts, and human intelligence reports to develop comprehensive understanding of operational environments and potential threats. These skills made her a more valuable team member by expanding her ability to contribute to mission planning beyond pure shooting capabilities. Team leadership responsibilities gradually expanded as Morrison recognized Sarah's potential for advancement within the special operations community. She began mentoring newer team members, sharing the knowledge and experience she had gained through her own development and operational experience. This teaching role was both challenging and rewarding, requiring Sarah to articulate techniques and concepts that had become intuitive through extensive practice. Equipment development projects provided opportunities for Sarah to contribute to the advancement of sniper technology and techniques throughout the military. Her operational experience and technical knowledge made her valuable for evaluating new rifles, optics, and ammunition that might improve capability for future missions. These projects often involved classified research that pushed the boundaries of what was technically possible in precision shooting systems. Interagency cooperation became an important aspect of Sarah's expanding role, as different military and intelligence organizations recognized the value of her unique capabilities. She participated in joint training exercises and planning sessions, where multiple agencies coordinated their efforts to address complex national security challenges. These experiences broadened her understanding of how special operations fit into larger strategic frameworks. International cooperation provided opportunities for Sarah to work with elite units from allied nations, sharing techniques and learning from operators who had developed different approaches to similar challenges. These exchanges were valuable for expanding tactical knowledge while building relationships that could prove important for future joint operations. The diversity of equipment and techniques used by different nations provided insights that influenced American special operations development. Technology integration projects explored how emerging technologies might enhance sniper capabilities while maintaining the reliability and simplicity that were essential for special operations success. Sarah evaluated new range-finding systems, ballistic computers, and communication technologies that promised to improve performance without adding unacceptable complexity or failure points to operational equipment. Her feedback was crucial for determining which innovations were worth pursuing and which represented unnecessary complications. Psychological evaluation and support became important aspects of Sarah's continuing development, as the stresses of special operations work required careful monitoring to ensure that personnel remained effective and stable. Regular assessments evaluated her mental health and resilience, while providing resources for dealing with the unique pressures that accompanied life and death responsibilities. These programs were designed to maintain peak performance while preventing the burnout that could compromise operational effectiveness. Physical fitness standards for special operations personnel exceeded normal military requirements, demanding continuous attention to strength, endurance, and agility that could prove crucial during extended operations. Sarah's training regimen included specialized exercises designed to maintain the physical capabilities necessary for carrying heavy equipment over difficult terrain while preserving the fine motor control essential for precision shooting. These fitness requirements were not just about meeting standards, but about maintaining peak performance under the most demanding conditions. Operational planning responsibilities expanded as Sarah gained experience and demonstrated her ability to contribute beyond pure shooting skills. She participated in mission planning sessions where her technical knowledge and operational experience provided valuable input for developing tactics and procedures. Her understanding of ballistics and environmental factors was particularly valuable for planning operations where long-range precision fire would be a critical component of mission success. Risk assessment and mitigation became important skills as Sarah learned to evaluate the various factors that could affect mission success and personnel safety. She developed the ability to identify potential problems before they occurred and recommend solutions that would reduce risks without compromising operational effectiveness. This capability was particularly valuable for special operations, where margins for error were minimal and the consequences of failure could be catastrophic. Communication skills were refined through extensive practice in both technical and tactical contexts, ensuring that Sarah could effectively coordinate with other team members while providing accurate information to commanders and analysts. Clear communication was essential for special operations success, where misunderstandings could result in mission failure or casualties. Sarah learned to convey complex technical information in terms that non-specialists could understand while maintaining the precision necessary for operational planning. Contingency planning became a regular aspect of Sarah's responsibilities, as special operations missions required detailed preparation for various scenarios that might develop during execution. She learned to think through multiple possibilities and develop responses that would maintain mission effectiveness, even when original plans had to be modified due to changing circumstances. This flexibility was crucial for operations where enemy action or environmental factors could require rapid adaptation. Resource management skills were developed through training scenarios that required Sarah to operate with limited ammunition, equipment, and supplies while maintaining operational effectiveness. She learned to prioritize targets and conserve resources without compromising mission objectives, understanding that special operations often required personnel to operate for extended periods without resupply. These skills were particularly important for missions in remote areas where logistics support was minimal. After-action review processes became routine aspects of training and operational activities, with systematic analysis of performance providing opportunities for continuous improvement. Sarah learned to objectively evaluate her own performance while providing constructive feedback to other team members. These reviews were essential for maintaining the high standards that characterize special operations, while identifying areas where individual and team performance could be enhanced. The integration of lessons learned from each training exercise and operational mission into future planning and preparation ensured that capabilities continued to improve over time. Sarah's growing database of experience provided valuable insights that influenced tactical development and equipment selection for the entire team. Her ability to apply theoretical knowledge to practical situations made her increasingly valuable as both an operator and an advisor. Documentation and reporting requirements ensured that valuable knowledge and experience were preserved for future reference and training purposes. Sarah learned to prepare detailed reports that captured not just what happened during missions and training exercises, but why certain decisions were made and what factors influenced outcomes. These reports were valuable resources for other operators and for commanders planning future missions. Security considerations permeated every aspect of Sarah's expanding role, with careful attention to protecting classified information and operational capabilities from potential compromise. She learned to balance the need for information sharing and coordination with the requirement to maintain security that protected both personnel and national interests. These skills were essential for operating in environments where information security could determine mission success or failure. Professional development opportunities provided access to advanced education and training that expanded Sarah's capabilities beyond pure operational skills. She attended specialized schools and courses that provided deeper understanding of subjects ranging from advanced mathematics to international relations. This broader education made her more valuable as a special operations professional, while preparing her for potential leadership roles in the future. The recognition that came with operational success was balanced by understanding that special operations personnel rarely received public acknowledgement for their contributions to national security. Sarah learned to find satisfaction in the knowledge that her work made a difference without expecting external validation or recognition. This mindset was essential for maintaining motivation and commitment throughout a career characterized by classified achievements and anonymous service. Mentorship relationships with senior special operations personnel provided guidance and perspective that helped Sarah navigate the unique challenges of her expanding role. These relationships were valuable for understanding both the opportunities and the responsibilities that came with elite military service. The wisdom and experience of veteran operators provided insights that could only be gained through years of service in demanding environments. The evolution of threats and challenges facing national security required continuous adaptation and learning to maintain effectiveness against evolving adversaries. Sarah understood that her training and development would never be complete, as new technologies and tactics required constant study and adaptation. This commitment to lifelong learning was essential for maintaining relevance and effectiveness in a rapidly changing operational environment. Future planning and goal setting helped Sarah chart a course for continued professional development and contribution to special operations capabilities. She learned to balance short-term mission requirements with long-term career objectives while remaining flexible enough to adapt to changing organizational needs and opportunities. This planning process was essential for maximizing her contribution to national security while maintaining personal and professional satisfaction. The responsibility that came with exceptional capabilities required careful consideration of how best to serve national interests while maintaining the high standards that characterize special operations forces. Sarah understood that her unique skills created obligations to perform at the highest levels while supporting the development of other personnel who might follow similar paths. This responsibility was both challenging and rewarding, providing purpose and meaning that extended far beyond individual achievement. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.